And hello everyone, Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. Thank you for joining us here as we get ever closer to March Town Meeting Day coming up on March 6, 2018. And we're talking to, well, we've got two of the candidates for St. Albans Town Select Board tonight. For the record, we certainly invited all the candidates, and we're happy that a couple of candidates showed up. We have David McWilliams, former St. Albans Town Selectman, and his brother, Alexander Buddy McWilliams. So appreciate you folks showing up. Let me just note for the record who's running. Again, we have two terms at stake in St. Albans Town for the Select Board. For the 2-year term, candidates are Bruce Cheeseman, the current Select Board Chairman, Sam Smith, the Select Board Vice Chairman, Buddy McWilliams, and Dick Day. So 4 candidates for the 2-year term, 3 candidates running for the 3-year term, including former Selectman David McWilliams, Stan Dukas, and Dick Day also filed for the 3-year term as well. And again, just to make perfectly clear, all the candidates were invited, and 2 candidates showed up, and we appreciate you folks showing up. David, you're no stranger to the St. Albans Town Select Board, a couple of stints on it over the years.
Yes.
A pretty recent one, and you'd like to get back there.
Yeah, well, the reason I'm running again is because of the fact that, I believe in being a servant of the public. I was a servant of the for the Main Study for 27 years. I've been on the board of directors of the Northwest PEG Access for 19 years. Yeah. And I felt that it was time to come back and let them know that I was still around and I hadn't died.
And of course, then for the 3-year term, you're contesting Stan Dukas, another former selectman. So kind of an interesting race here. We have 2 former selectmen, and Dick Day for the 2-year term. We have 2 incumbent selectmen. Kind of a interesting situation. So, Buddy, your first run for public office in the town?
Yes, it is.
Give us some background. Yourself.
About myself?
Yeah.
I worked for General Electric, General Dynamics for 36 years. I was a Franklin County Deputy Sheriff for 33 years.
Of course, so under obviously a few different sheriffs.
I started out Roland Keenan, then ended with Messier.
Wow.
Then I decided it was too old and time to retire because it's a young man's job. And I was in the National Guard for 26 years.
Wow. Have you had any involvement in any town positions in your career?
No, I have not. I've for a long time thought about it, but I never really gave it much thought until this year, because I just think that there's something lacking in the town, but I'm not quite sure what it is, and I've been trying to figure that out so I can tell the voters. But I think we need some new blood, because right now we have people that have been there for a considerable time. I'm not saying they don't do a good job, but I just think it's time for somebody different and some newer ideas, and maybe sometime maybe a younger person will get involved in this.
Yeah. So no one issue prompted you just?
Well, what got me really going for sure was when I was bringing my wife to the hospital back about, let's see if I can remember when I went off the road, Dave. But anyways, they called the ambulance, and the police were there and everything. And I got a bill for almost $900. So I started investigating that, and I found that, talking to the town manager, Carrie, that there's no contract. We just pay them for dispatching and for a fee to be our ambulance service. And I
talking AmCare ambulance in this
right.
sense.
And what I couldn't understand is, why are we paying a for-profit company to do our ambulance service and then charging prices like that to our people here in St. Albans Town? I asked her if there was any agreement where there might be a discount for a town person, and she said no. There's no agreement, just we pay them.
Interesting.
I'd like to see that stop altogether, either form our own ambulance service or get a non-profit type ambulance service going so that our people don't get charged so much money.
Tell us about campaigning. How are you going about campaigning?
I've been going with my brother a little bit, plus I've been talking to a lot of people that I know, and they said, well, you're crazy to run for the town select board. I said, yeah, but I said, you have to do it once just to make sure that you think you're going to do something and accomplish it. My whole thing is I'd like to see some things change and maybe get better in the town and try to keep the taxes down for all the taxpayers. That's my biggest goal.
Right. David, again, you're no stranger to the select board. What was the main reason? I know you've been a public figure on the front, certainly, as you said, with this Northwest Access TV for any particular reason why you decided to jump into the fray again?
There's numerous reasons. First of all, the town dock, the wastewater plant, in the agreement, the fire department, town hall, and the town garage.
A lot of big issues out there.
Yeah. And I look at, just like the town dock, we've already studied that before. We're studying it again. We're spending money on that, where the bay dock has been there probably for 50, 60 years or more. Yeah. To me, the bay dock had to be torn out of there and put a pier in there that'll go straight out and not have it where the L is, because the L is giving us a problem with algae staying in that L area. If the water free flows underneath the pier instead of the dock, because very little gets underneath the dock now, and the town has done the study, they've had a company look at it and all that, I think tear the whole thing out of there and put in a pier that will be brand new, because there's there's blacktop and plus cement on there. And I think it ought to be removed and put in a brand new pier down there.
Have you got any price tag? That doesn't sound like it'd be a cheap project. Have you got any feel for how much that would cost?
I haven't looked into the price of it because of the fact that, I'm not on the select board, but, instead of wasting money on that, studying that bay dock when we've studied it before, the bay dock ought to be removed and put in a pier down there.
Yeah. A marina's getting a lot of attention. It looks like it's a done deal. Looks like the St. Albans Bay Marina should be opening up, I guess, in the spring. Does that sound like good project to you?
I think, the new marina will bring a lot of Canadians and other local people to use their, what do you call it, their
Docky.
The slip? I mean, just
the slips and stuff like that. Yeah. The two gentlemen that have put a lot of money into it, they got all their permits. And, the tremendous amount of money that they're spending on permits. I think Mr. Boisneau told me it's like over $100,000.
Wow.
And that's crazy in the state of Vermont to spend that amount of money. Yes, you'd have permits, but the cost. Why does anybody want to come to St. Albans Town with the price of, these permits? Ben and Jerry spent $351,000. I talked to Tim Smith the other day for their new addition. And he says, it's crazy. You want companies to come to St. Albans Town, and we got to do something to make it more attractive. Right now, the only thing we got is our industrial park. Peerless is building on their permits. I think, I'm not sure the total on that is, but it's over $200,000 for permit. The permitting process in the state of Vermont is out of control, and we need to do something. But I'm not in that area to do something. That's up to our legislative people and our governor.
And of course, you've had some firsthand experience with that, with the new headquarters that Northwest Access TV will be moving into in a couple, 3 months.
Yeah. We hope to be in there by mid-April. Of course, once the building is finished, we have to bring in our own contractors to install the lights and all the new equipment that'll be put in there.
Buddy, what about the permit here? You hear that a lot, especially with folks running for the legislature, that the permitting process needs to be streamlined.
That definitely needs to be changed.
Doesn't seem like there's a lot of changes most of the time, huh?
I think until we get a different generation in Montpelier, other than the people that have been there for a while. I'm not saying they're bad, but we just need some new ideas and some ways to make it more friendly for people who want to build homes or build companies or want to build a place here in town. And I see that where the state's got to change first, and maybe we can talk to Lynn and see if she can help us there somehow, help the town. And the other thing I was thinking about was recently they were in the newspaper, there was something about the town building a new town hall up on Fisher Pond Road in Route 7 there or whatever, or 105.
Yeah, that's when a couple of sites are up
those
in that area.
Those two intersections, the one off the interstate and the one going up Route 36, are pretty dangerous now. And if we start building town offices up there and everything else, just going to draw more problems than we already have there. I would
be
like to see,
happier with the status quo? Do you think the current building's good enough or not?
I think we need a new building. I think that if we were to build one, we would build it on the new north end where everything is now, as far as stores and everything else. And I thought maybe we could probably look at maybe purchasing a lot up there by Paquin Ford or somewhere and have it built in right where all the traffic work has been done and everything, rather than try to make the ramp where it comes off the interstate and this other four corners that goes up 36. That way those don't get any more dangerous than they already are. One's a failed ramp, exit anyway. So,
David, what are your thoughts on, I guess when you were on the select board, I guess the search process had not started for a new site. How happy are you with the two sites being considered?
I think the two sites, one being exit 19, which is already a failed area already, they want to put a roundabout. And then they want to take and put one, the second choice is over on the corner of Fisher Pond Road and Fairfield Hill.
Yeah.
Those areas right now are failing as far as traffic. So why do we want to add more problems to that area? If you go up there 7 o'clock in the morning or 3:30 in the afternoon, it's crazy up there. I think, my brother brought up about putting it in front of Paquin Motors. One time, the town was talking about putting a substation as far as the fire department or a town highway garage. That would be a good spot up there. I did talk to the next door neighbor to Town Hall, Pat Vincent, about taking and seeing if we could buy that building and tear down the building and put a new 2-story building there. And I don't think the select board has, at least 2 of the select board should meet with her and get a final decision. Do you want to sell it or do you not want to sell it? And I think, I'd rather see the town hall stay in the bay, because that is the town of St. Albans. That's our village down there. And I think if you take it out of there, the people in the town of St. Albans will be very upset.
So you think a new building is necessary or not necessarily?
There's been studies done on that town hall that, in reference to, what it's going to cost to update it, and it's in a couple $1 million.
Yeah.
We got a new leach system out behind the town hall. That is working good. But the town select board should either finalize it with the next door neighbor at town hall, which is Pat Vincent, or look into putting it out there in front of Paquin Ford. Patrick Malone would probably want to sell the property to put the town hall there, and maybe another part of it would be a new fire station, because we've always talked about a substation.
Yeah.
The town fire department right now has been there for many, many years. It should be looked at as far as a structural engineer to make sure it's still doing its job and it's safe. But it's been there a long time. So, those are the 2 things that I'd like to look at as far as the old bowling alley and also in front of Paquin Ford.
Speaking of the fire department, buddy, as I think there's been a move afoot to merge the city and town fire department. Sounds like there's some movement to that. That struck you as a good idea or not?
if it saves the town money on the police contract, I think it would be a fantastic idea, as long as we don't end up getting all the expense where, buying new trucks and stuff that put in the city or something. But on the overall, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to have one fire department.
David, your thoughts on that?
Well, in reference to joining the city and town fire department, the only way I would ever support it if it went to a fire district.
That was the other thing.
Because you can't trust the city and some of the people that that are there. And I think if we took and had a fire district, it should be run by people not involved in the city or town. That's the only way it's going to work and work properly. We also have to look into what it's going to cost for new equipment. The town of St. Albans is going to be looking at a new ladder truck within the next 2 or 3 years. That's going to cost about $800,000 or more for a new ladder truck. The city's got got some new equipment. Right now they only have 2 firemen up there full time, but they also have a call for. The town's got outstanding equipment. We have mutual aid right now with the city and town and all the other surrounding towns. If they need St. Albans town, we're there, with our fire department equipment and our volunteer. But as far as ever supporting, the city and town merger, I'd only support a fire district. That's the only way, because you got to get the politics out of it. And that's the biggest thing with St. Albans City and St. Albans Town.
I think that's what I was trying to mean by that.
Yeah.
Is that it should be a district, just like we should have a sewer water district myself.
I'm glad you mentioned that was my next issue. When I last left this issue that I feel like I've been dealing with as a reporter for ever since I've been in town, decades. When I last left the issue, there was a draft agreement, I guess, with the city and town on the water wastewater issue. David, I'm not sure how, I haven't heard any details on that. I'm not sure if you're ahead of me, but your thought, and I think I know what I'm going to hear, but your thoughts on that?
Well, as far as the wastewater plant, the city of St. Albans needs to upgrade it.
Of course, and that's of course, city voters.
$18 million.
Right, approved, I think, handily approved an $18 million bond issue. Dominic Cloud, the city manager. I think the work may not, I guess it's going to start later this year, maybe not in the spring, but
is it all going to be used on the wastewater plant, or is it going to be used for some of the utilities like the pipelines and stuff like that? We don't know. Also, the fact that, the wastewater plant is in St. Albans Town. Way back in the early days, the wastewater, what they call the outfall line, they put it down behind Black Bridge. The bay is never going to change until we start doing stuff like cleaning up the bay, making sure there's no runoff from the farmers, no septic system is failing, and making sure the wastewater treatment plant is brought up to the standards that it should be.
Right, probably worth noting, the wastewater plant a lot better than most people, having logged how many years down there?
I worked 12 years with the town of with the city of St. Albans at their wastewater plant.
Okay.
Right now, I know that they're talking about an agreement to use the 1% sales tax that we have in St. Albans Town.
You got a lot of money. You got well over $1 million in that fund.
There's about over $2 million right now.
Over $2 million.
So that money should be used only at the approval of the voters of the town of St. Albans. I don't think the Selectboard should take and decide to take, because it comes under infrastructure and stuff like that, that they should be given that amount of money to the city of St. Albans unless the voters of the town of St. Albans vote for it to allow it to happen. I don't think the Selectboard should take and do that. Go on their own and do it. Just like, the police department. We're putting $120,000 into the new drug task force.
The street crimes unit?
Yeah, and then we gave them $35,000 out of this year's budget. Okay.
Was that not a good move, or?
I'm not saying it's not a good move, but something, when you're dealing with the amount of money that the town is giving to the city, we got to fix one thing before we can make this work. The court system in the town in the city of St. Albans and Franklin County, in my opinion, doesn't work. You go down there the second and fourth Monday of the month, or you look at the Courier and you see all those people going down there. They're continuously the same names over and over that are going in there for drug problems and stuff like that. So why should we take and give the $120,000 until we fix the goddamn court system? Because the court system, it'll be $120,000 this year in the budget. Then next year we're going to have to put more. Is there a problem with the drugs in this area? Yes, there is. We even have some of our family relatives that are into drugs, and been in jail.
Probably a lot of families, unfortunately, can probably relate.
But the problem is a lot of the doctors and the pharmaceutical companies give out a lot of these opiates for painkillers, and that is probably one of the biggest problems that we have. I was talking to a person today that said they had a woman down in, and I can't confirm this, but I was told today there was a woman that overdosed down in the parking lot there in front of Food City. And there was a needle in her car, and she was slopped over, so they had the ambulance go down there, and there's a drug problem. I'm not saying I don't support it, but I feel that the taxpayers of this town of St. Albans should take and okay that money on a separate article to be put on the town warning.
Buddy, your thoughts on that? Again, the street crimes unit's been getting a fair amount of attention.
That it isn't so much the court system, it's our laws here in this state. I remember spending 7-8 hours filling out paperwork and affidavits and all the arrest reports and all that.
Just the new deputy sheriff?
When I was a deputy sheriff. And then they get down to court, and they're back out on the street faster than you can Bat an eyelash.
Do you think things have gotten worse looking back on your career in law enforcement?
Since the prison was put down here.
When did you step down as a deputy?
Yeah, I retired from the sheriff's department because it was,
Right.
you know,
That was a while ago?
Yeah, that was back in when Dale Mesher retired.
that was a
Well,
while
when
ago.
he didn't get reelected and Norris got elected. I knew it was time because I was getting a lot older and it's kind of hard to wrestle some of these kids.
Yeah.
But it's just a revolving door. They just keep coming in, going out, going, and no, it's just slap on the hand. And they say they're going to fine them, and they work out a payment deal, and probably gets paid, maybe it doesn't. But that's the biggest thing, and we need not to support that prison that they're talking about in Montpelier and on the
Funny,
television.
thank you. I just wrote that down a second ago.
I do not
We're
support
talking,
that.
a proposed,
and
925 bed prison? You don't support that?
No, I do not. That is just going to bring more problems to this city and this town than we have
I guess
now.
the reference I've heard in Franklin County, I haven't heard it more specific, but I'm not sure if you have, David, but you think it might end up in St. Albans Town?
Well, they were talking St. Albans Town,
Of course,
Franklin County.
if it did end up, that would take away presumably the Northwest State Correctional Facility, but
Well-
you don't want to see a big prison.
Well, no,
right there.
they're going to bring all the way I understand it, maybe I'm wrong, they want to bring all the prisoners back from out of state and put them in this new prison. It's going to be another max security like what we have here now, which started out as a youthful offender.
Sure
been
did.
here long
Yep,
enough.
Sure did. Yeah.
I used to be a guard down there, so I know what it's like.
So anyway, not a good idea.
Not a good idea. There ain't no money in this world that's good for that.
David, your thoughts on the big prison proposal?
Well, first of all, the state of Vermont lied to us when we first had that, which was a juvenile detention center.
Yeah.
Then it went to a prison, and then it went to a women's prison. Now it's a maximum security prison. By putting them out of prisoners that would bring to St. Albans Town and the city area, it's going to put a burden on our schools and our taxes. And yeah, they'll say, David, well, you support jobs, don't you? I say, yeah. But stand down in the afternoon around 2:30, go down there and see how many cars are from Vermont and how many cars go to New York State. It's good jobs, for the area. But, Windsor, they just closed that place. Why don't they tear that building that they want to tear down and put that prison down there? They got all the fencing up and everything, put it there. Yeah. But we don't need another prison or a bigger prison in St. Albans Town, or that'll affect all the schools, the housing and all that stuff. To me, I do not support it coming here.
Sticking with police, again, St. Albans Town, of course, had a contract with St. Albans, with the city, St. Albans PD, for patrol coverage for a number of years now. The current select board members seem to be pretty happy with how that's going. You got any thoughts on that?
At first, I wasn't too impressed, but as time has gone on, I think it's a good deal for the town.
Yeah.
But it's like anything else. If the sheriffs did a bid and they were lower than the city, they're just as much professionals as the city is now, because everybody has to go through the full course, like the troopers and the local police officers.
For Sheriff Norris, that was certainly a big blow to him when he lost the contract for the town.
But hey, you got to bid. You got to bid. You got to know what you're doing.
David, what do you think? How satisfied are you with city PD coverage in St. Albans Town?
Well, if it tells you anything, that when the contract came up for renewal, the 3-year contract with the option of 2, I was the one that made the motion to keep the city police department on.
Yeah.
I've seen them down in the camp areas checking camp.
Did the sheriff's department make another bid to get that contract last time it came up? Do you know? Or
I think they were given the opportunity to bid on it, but
and they
didn't.
Apparently didn't even bid on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the city police officers are doing an outstanding job in St. Albans Town. As far as protecting our taxpayers. They're down in areas. They're on Halfway Point, Camp Kilcare. They're down on West Shore. They cover a lot of the roads in St. Albans Town, and their response time is very good.
Yeah, it's very good.
So I think we got our money's worth out of that, and I think we should keep on going with it.
St. Albans city-town relations, which we've touched on a little bit, always a big topic. Buddy, what are your thoughts? Do you think?
I think if we do business with the city, we want to make sure that it's good for both the town taxpayers and the city taxpayers.
Yeah.
Mostly town for us, because sometimes they like to seem to have the upper hand, the city does, over the town. Of course, it's been that way because I've lived here all my life, and it's always, the city's always try to be one up more than the town, but I think that's slowly going away, but it's going to take a while, yeah.
Yeah. David, city-town relations?
City and town relation? Well, I think because of this water and wastewater suit that's going on, you know, it's made a lot of people on the select board, you know, when I was on there, not want to trust the city of St. Albans. You know, maybe if there was a new manager, you know, maybe that would change.
And you don't, for the record, you don't, so you're saying you don't really trust the city of St. Albans on like a big issue like that?
That's all.
I don't trust them at all.
Not at all.
You know, I worked there for going on 38 years. The city manager that I really liked was Bill Chaffee. He cared about his employees and he cared about the people. Dominic, you know, I worked underneath him for 5 years, and you know, I don't think I had a quiet day with him.
For the record, under Dominic's tenure, I mean, downtown St. Albans certainly has a new look. Do you give him some credit for the revitalization effort?
Yeah, you know, the TIF district has done a lot of good for the city.
And for the record, St. Albans city voters, one of whom I am, have a TIF article coming up on town meeting day.
Yeah. I just hope the tax rate, because right now the tax rate in the state of Vermont, isn't Franklin County, as far as the city of St. Albans, the highest tax rate in Franklin County? Or third place, somewhere in there. You know, the people, you know, are selling houses in the city and the town because the taxes are too high. You know, I had a friend that I took back down the airport. He lives in Florida now. There's a couple down on the Church Road that moved to North Carolina. You know, you're taxed on your property taxes. Your cost of living is too expensive here. They tax your pension. They tax your Social Security. You know, and people that are on Social Securities are having a problem just to stay above ground with, you know, that 2% raise you got for the Social Security. Well, guess what? You know, increase in Medicare, increase in the prescription plan I have went from $30 to $56. I mean, you know, the town, you know, overall, you know, the highway department, Alan Master does an outstanding job. You know, the roads are taken care of the way they should be. He's done a lot of culvert replacement. You know, the guys in the highway department, you know, are doing an outstanding job. And I think, you know, that we ought to take and, you know, give them, you know, if anybody ever sees them, say, thank you very much for keeping our roads clean.
Yeah.
The town garage, that's a hot subject. The town garage, somebody says, put it on exit 19, you know, with the town hall and up there. My feeling is the town garage should go up on the Brigham Road. We got 72 acres.
Town-owned property up there.
Yeah, we own 72 acres up there.
Of course, I'm told by current select board members that there's a contract with an unnamed entity. I've never gotten any details on this, but that there's a party interested in acquiring at least some of that land for some purpose. I don't know if you know more than I do.
Well, you know, the person that owns a lot of that property up there is called Ingleside Farm up there in that area. You know,
but anyway, the town at this point owns what, 70 plus acres on the Brigham Road.
Some of the land is you know wetland.
Yeah.
But we got 72 acres. If we have to move that town highway garage, then let's, you know, put it on a Brigham Road. You know, right now, you know, if it's our town garage is where it is now is polluting, then we got to move it and get it off in there.
You'd ideally like to get it. I mean, it should be off Lake Champlain. Would you like to see it out of there?
I would suggest that we try to get it up on the Brigham Road.
Of course, the issue did come before townspeople a couple of years ago, and a decisive defeat for the bid to move it out of there.
That's because it was the Taj Mahal.
So you were not happy with that proposal?
That proposal, you know, was very expensive, you know, and Alan Masters looked at town garages, and, you know, he wants longer bay so you can get more trucks in out of the, you know, the weather, you know, and we don't need a 9 bay, you know, he's doing the research on it, and, you know, a lot of taxpayers, you know, if we have to move it off the bay, because sooner or later the state's going to force us, or the federal government, put it on the Brigham Road.
Yeah. Buddy, what are your thoughts on the Department of Public Works garage down on St. Albans Bay?
I think it needs to be moved. It should have been moved years ago.
Yeah.
And just and like David just said, and I felt the same way. That first garage they proposed was way ridiculous.
Yeah, just too expensive.
Way too expensive. I think we can do it, and if we investigate it right and do it, we can do it right, and it would save the town money.
Does Brigham Road, does that seem like a good spot for it?
I think that's a fantastic spot because it's right near the railroad. So if you need to get anything like sand, or not sand, but salt, you can bring the railroad cars right in. You can get it right there. If the railroad would put in a little, I can't remember what they call them, but a little trail line off so that the town, I think we would benefit way around by putting it there.
Yeah.
But as far as the town offices, I still think we need to go up on New North End where we are with all the stores and everything.
Yeah. To the extent you're campaigning, are people focused? It just seems to me like town meeting day kind of fades a little more each year. It often seems to me that way. You're running into, are people aware that...
As you can tell from the two of us, he's more experienced and I'm just getting into this.
Yeah.
But I'm learning a lot
when
from...
you tell them, are people aware that town meeting day is not far away?
Oh yeah, they are. The people that I've talked to very well know, and they've all said that they think it's time for a change also.
Yeah.
So that's why I decided to run for sure.
Yeah. When people talk to you about what's the big issue, we've talked about a lot of issues in the last half hour. I mean, property.
The biggest issue is like
about taxes, I'm sure. But
a lot of the retired, most of the people I know are retired.
Yeah.
I know a lot of young people, but all the retired people say I can't afford to keep paying more and more and more out, and that's their biggest problem is try to keep my taxes down.
Yeah.
Don't strangle the town, but at least try to keep it down somehow.
David, you're a former selectman. Do you think the select board has done a pretty good job, or could it be doing a lot better? I mean, is it realistic? Everybody complains about higher taxes, and for the record, about 3/4 of one's tax bill is on the school side, not the municipal side. But
that's what a lot of taxpayers look at. The cost of education and what it costs per pupil is like $15,000 per pupil. The town budget, a lot of people vote for that because it's under control. But we also got to make sure that we don't waste any of our money. Studying that Bay Dock, or giving that 1% money to the city of St. Albans, unless, there's attorneys involved in this thing, because, like I said, I don't trust the city of St. Albans. The fire department issue should be a fire district. The town hall should be, decided whether we should go up on the Swanton Road or Pat Vincent, bowling alley place there. The town highway garage, there's issues that we're looking into in 2018 that will majorly affect the town of St. Albans.
Is it realistic to think, again, on the municipal side, I mean, budget increases tend to be pretty small. Is it, is it realistic if someone's telling you, hey, you need to cut the budget, you can't spend as much money? Is that realistic or just not realistic?
Well, it's hard because of the fact of all the different departments that are covered, it's very hard when you got, employees, benefits, you got to have the equipment to run and stuff like that. The budget itself went up 8%. We also had $300,000, which we can put towards the cost of any property tax increase.
Surplus,
we can't get the final number until the grand list comes in.
Yeah.
Once the grand list comes in, then we'll know how much our tax rate's going to go up. But the budget went up 8%. Yeah. These town select board people that didn't want to come tonight, and wanted to be here, and they had a chance to discuss any issue like you had brought up tonight. Yeah. And I feel that, the town taxpayers, should demand that, they, answer some questions in reference to the budget. They got a chance on March 5th, I think it is, where they're going to have...
Informational meeting?
Yeah. To take and go over their budget. A lot of people don't get involved in town government because they haven't got the time, or they got family members and stuff like that. Yeah. But I feel that if you don't get involved in St. Albans town government or any local government, then some of these people that are spending money, you got to keep an eye on everybody. If I'm back on the select board, keep an eye on me because of the fact that, we got to keep our taxes under control.
The articles on the warning, including the budget, the biggie, over $4.5 million general fund, do you support the articles on the warning?
Well, I look at the budget the way it is. There's things that I don't like about it, But in order to run this town of St. Albans and keep it going and paying our employees, I have to support it.
Buddy,
But-
what about yourself? Realizing
I support the budget the
Yeah.
way it's written right now because I've watched the town highway department redid the Button Road and the end of my road so that it could be redone. It needed to be because of the water problems. And to me, I can't see where we're not spending the money in the right place
Yeah.
the way we are right now.
Yeah.
There's a couple items, but it's part of running the town, and there's no way you can change some of the stuff. But the biggest problem I think we need to do is to get our representatives that are in Montpelier to find a way to get these school taxes down.
yeah.
That's our biggest
Yeah,
problem.
that issue comes up all the time. We'll take a few more minutes. Any issue we haven't talked about that you want to give a minute or two attention to?
I think I covered the one that bothers me the most was the prison thing.
Yeah.
I definitely don't want another prison.
Have you heard many people talk about that issue?
I've had a few people ask me what I thought of it, and I told them what I thought, and they agreed with me 100%.
Yeah. David, is that issue coming up when you talk to folks?
Yeah, people that want to know what's going on with it, because there's not been a lot in the paper
Hasn't been.
recently.
Yeah.
One of the things that I know the town select board doesn't like me, and I brought it up, is I gave close to $7,000 to the town of Swanton for attorney fees to fight the wind project.
Right.
The town select board should have never done that. They should have had it put on the ballot. Let the voters decide whether we're going to give money for attorney fees for Swanton to help fight the wind project. The more you can put in front of the taxpayers, the better you are. Takes a lot of the burden off the select board, and I think they should have done that in the first place in reference to that. The town of St. Albans is a wonderful place to live, where there's not a lot in tax sales in St. Albans town. It's Anna Boardman keeps a good job, keeping it down. So I want to give an outstanding remarks to the people that work at Town Hall, to the town clerk's office, to the listers, to also Tad Redmond is out because he had an operation and he's doing well. We don't know when he's going to be back to work. The guys that are in charge of, doing our listers and stuff like that, we have two that are hired. Ned O'Connell is our grant writer and stuff like that. Yeah. Carrie Johnson's our town manager, and she stayed there longer than I thought she would.
Hey, she sets a record for longevity every day she's on the job, in fact.
I think she's doing pretty good. I've had a few conversations with her, somewhere a little bit, but the last one I had was about like the ambulance thing, and I think we should eliminate the subsidy to a for-profit company and either start something or at least get rid of the money from going to the AmCare for, I have to say AmCare because that's who we have. I don't see why we should be paying them all kinds of money.
So anyway, wrap things up for us, buddy. Again, taking a jump into a selectman's race, but I think some new blood. I think the town could use some new blood. In this case, your new blood.
I know I've got a lot to learn because I'm listening to my brother. He has one philosophy, I have another. Sometimes we don't agree on stuff, but I never realized just how much there is into running for an office and then being able to get out what you really want to say to people. I'm slowly learning that. He's a good teacher.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't agree with so much, but.
And David, you certainly know what you're getting into, but you'd like to get into it some more.
Something, it's like throwing gasoline into a fire. When I ran for re-election, I don't think anybody on that select board even voted for me when I went for re-election. I'm going in there with an open mind to do what I can for the betterment of the taxpayers of the town of St. Albans. And if we don't, you're going to see a lot more people leaving this town of St. Albans. I can't do anything about the school budget, but I can control the money as far as the town budget.
Right. Oh, very good. We appreciate the time. And again, just one more time for the 3-year term, the candidates David McWilliams and Stan Dukas, 2 former selectmen, and Dick Day. And for the 2-year term, Alexander Buddy McWilliams and 2 current select board members, Bruce Cheeseman, the select board chair, Sam Smith, the select board vice chair, and Dick Day also filed for the 2-year term. So hopefully that will help get a decent turnout in St. Albans Town on town meeting day. Again, 2 contested races for the select board. And again, just to be perfectly clear, as I would hope folks would assume that we did.
There was just one thing I forgot to bring up.
Yeah.
Was I was hoping that Mr. Cheeseman and Mr. Smith would have been here because supposedly they have reached a deal with the city, and I was kind of curious what it was.
Yeah, I'm not sure we would have gotten a lot of details as we touched on. A draft agreement was the last reference I heard to it, but yeah, no, for the record, again, all the candidates were invited. Let me make that perfectly clear, and I'm sorry we didn't get a full slate of candidates, but certainly appreciate.
Must be they didn't like me going back for the select board or my brother.
Anyway,
because of the fact that we speak our mind.
Again, appreciate David McWilliams and Buddy McWilliams for showing up and being here on the panel. So again, town meeting day not far away, folks. Keep that in mind, and you can vote ahead of time if Tuesday, March 6th is not a good day for you. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up. Thanks to Sarah, Elizabeth, and Zach for doing all the hard work out there. Thanks for watching us here on Northwest Access TV. Again, think about town meeting day. It's not far away. I'm Richard Cowperthwait. So long for Northwest Access TV.